Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Joining me today is Sridhar Chityalaji. A lot of important events taking place around the world. A small request to all of you, please like this video, and if you've not already subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel. Sridharji, Namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Namaskar, good morning, good evening to everybody. Happy to be here. Sriji, first and foremost, I think I want to congratulate Rohan Bopanna and Matt Ebden. Rohan Bopanna at 43 winning his first Grand Slam doubles title today in Australian Open.
Absolutely, sir. What an incredible feat. Congratulations, Rohan. And sir, with your permission, I just want to play what we are going to talk about today as a teaser form. Here we go. That is the preview of what we are going to be covering today. Clearly, there's a lot of stuff to be covered. Sridharji, let's start with what is happening in Israel and Taiwan. The very interesting thing I noticed here, sir, India is sending 100,000 personnel to Taiwan and Israel. China is objecting. Why does China care about what is happening to other countries, sir?
China objects to Taiwan because it believes that Taiwan belongs to it. So therefore, Taiwanese needs to take their consent, and India and China fight just like Taiwanese and the Chinese fight, Sriji. So bringing the Indian workers mainstream into Taiwan is not the cup of tea that Chinese want to drink.
Sir, one of the things that always, surprises me is the Indian external affairs viewpoint about Taiwan. China just about reneged on every promise they made to India. And why should India not recognize Taiwan? They say, we recognize Taiwan as a separate country. Go take a walk.
Well, it requires you to be Eastern European DNA, Sriji, to have that kind of attitude. So you are trying to implant the Eastern European DNA into the rest of the ecosystem. It doesn't work. They have seen it. They have seen the suffering. So therefore, that's why they are very bold and they're very brave. We'll cover in the EU discussion tomorrow separately about how Eastern Europe is holding up, Sriji, in terms of some of the rubbish that's going on in Western Europe.
So it looks like Israel has recruited for manufacturing, farming, and nursing sectors. We know that Israel has, done perhaps the most advances in farming, like, for example, drip irrigation, using just water to grow plants and crops and fruits and vegetables and what have you. All these things now, they need a lot of hands. That's probably where bulk of the hiring is going. But Sridharji, is India going ahead to send 100,000 to Taiwan, or is there a pause there?
The Taiwan is, I think that's going on in parallel. They just honored as well the Foxconn CEO, the young Foxconn CEO, Sriji. I don't think there's anything stopping. They need people. This is Taiwan in the healthcare sector. They need people in the farming sector. They obviously need to augment because they're bringing a fair amount of jobs in-house into into Taiwan. So they want people in the manufacturing. It's actually also very good because for the Indians, because they're going to get a good trained workforce, because 100,000 may just be the initial tipping point. The same applies to the Israel. Israelis are looking for people, particularly in the health services as well as in the services sector, where the Palestinians used to occupy. So both these things are going on concurrently. Nobody is the recruiting process is underway, and I think people are being slowly moved into their jobs and moving forward. The Indians are fairly brave in terms of going and doing the work and earning money for the family, Sriji.
Yes, indeed. And we know that I think 6 Indians lost their lives. 2 or 3 were students, and the others were healthcare sector workers. One 90-year-old Israeli lady, along with her helper, both were brutally murdered in one of the kibbutzes that happened on October 7th. So it's a ongoing challenge. Of course, Israel is one of the most prepared nations to face any kind of onslaught. And as you see through this slide deck, viewers, you will see a lot of things falling Israel's way. At least I think so. Maybe Sridharji has a disagreement. We'll talk about that. First of all, inflation is slowing down while oil prices rise. We'll give you the data on the United States. And Sridharji, one quick comment on this, sir.
The quick comment is that we have seen the oil prices rise by 5%. It has not petered its way into the US economic system. We have seen the December inflation numbers. They have done relatively well. Overall, the inflation has come down to 3.2%, which was around 4.9% around the same time a year ago. So inflation seems to be in control, but we need to see forward over the next 3 months, because two things are rising. One is the oil cost, and second is the rising freight costs because of all the stuff that is things that are going on in Red Sea, Sriji.
Is US all set to leave Iraq? They left Afghanistan. Are they going to tuck their tails between their legs and run out of Iraq also, sir?
That discussion has commenced, especially after the so-called Iranian proxies attacking the US airbase, and there were injuries, and US has responded without telling the Iraqis, targeting these Iranian proxies within Iraq. This has resulted in discussions happening because the safety and security of the US soldiers is one thing. The second thing is there seems to be, a lot of backdoor discussions going on. This is exactly the route that we saw even in Afghanistan, to start kind of winding down, recognizing that there are some shaky poll numbers. There's a fear if once President Trump or a Republican president comes in. Right now, it looks like President Trump, based on all the poll numbers. Let's assume a US presidency goes to President Trump or a Republican nominee, then trouble brews in these regions, because there would be far more forthright actions and intolerance to some of the stuff that's going on. That's why they're trying to cut their positions and leave probably open carte blanche to the Iranians, Sriji.
I'm speechless, sir. Has the West failed to thwart Red Sea attacks? And therein lies a new story. Sridharji, we'll go into detail, because I know we have a lot more data to give. This is just major headlines, I guess. So we'll just one line here, sir. Go ahead, sir.
The answer is yes.
And the next threat is North Korea.
It's very obvious. The answer is yes, Sriji. We'll cover in the data.
And the next threat, North Korea. Sir, North Korea is a China poodle. So, but Chinese missiles are directionless, sir. They aim it at Taiwan, it goes to Japan. I mean, how seriously should one take this threat?
Very seriously, Sriji, because the reason is, if we wait for the data. So just to give you, we have to take it very seriously. The answer is there is like what you call unguided missiles. They can fall anywhere and create enormous damage, and he's not stopped. Every day he has been firing something or the other, Sriji.
Let's take a quick look at the global markets. US economy grew 3.3% at an annualized growth in Q4 of 2023, and for all of 2023 it accelerated at 2.5%. So this is, in conjunction with the fact that the core inflation has fallen to 3.2%, then one should see decent growth in 2024 for the United States. However, I have to pause there. A lot of layoffs happening, especially in the Magnificent Seven, which I call it Atmanam, ATMANAM. If you put the things together, let's find a acronym that sounds like a Sanskrit word, Atmanam. There are lots of layoffs going on, sir.
Yes, in the market section tomorrow, we'll touch a little bit about this because there's too much. You are absolutely correct. In January 2024, this month, which hasn't finished, there has been more than 23,000 people laid off in the Magnificent Seven or Atmanam. So why? What's the reason? I think that they're all overstaffed. We had covered this in 2023, one of the market summary DGIs, and even Sri chipped in with a lot of information on the recruiting, that over recruiting that took place. And so you will begin to see, because the great tech run is over, and we will begin to see some.
Thank you, sir. Are you there? Sridharji, are you there? Are you there, sir? For some reason, Sridharji has just got disconnected. I'm sure he will rejoin. Those of you who have not yet liked this video, may I request you all to like it? We are about 200 people watching this show now, and I don't know how many likes. I haven't had a chance to look at the likes, but may I request all of you to like this video? And also, we have shown you a way to auto subscribe to our channel. I'm going to show it to you again one more time, so it's very easy for
I don't know what happened. We lost for a minute, Sriji. Why is I can't hear. Cannot hear.
Sorry about that. I had muted myself. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we were talking about technology, Sriji, and I think much of them are calibrating themselves for reduced kind of spend. Also, they had over recruited. We'll probably cover a little more in detail tomorrow, but that is what is going on within the which is good. The reason is, one of the parameters that Fed is looking at is not overemployment, but unemployment to take a little bit up, Sriji.
So the European markets are remaining positive. However, Europe has already suffered a fair amount of knocks because of the energy prices, sir.
See, there are two things that we need to look at. One is this, where there is many non-capitalist, non-free market nations get mixed up. The most of the problems are in the government balance sheet. The problems are not as yet in the organizations or private sector balance sheets. Private sector drive the economic agenda of both Western Europe as well as the US markets. So most of them, we covered this, if you recall, end of 2023. Both the Japan stock market, the Western Europe stock markets, as well as the US stock markets performed very well. They acted on the numbers that the positive rates and they optimized their costs, and they better managed once the supply chains began to improve in terms of orchestrating the performance in their balance sheets. So what you're seeing in Western Europe is the companies performing very well, but the governments themselves may be impaired because of excess spending, Shriji.
Thank you, sir. Now let's take a quick look at a little bit more in depth on the Red Sea crisis and how that is affecting global shipping. Sridharji, we were going to talk in a little bit more detail about how the Houthis are getting away with these attacks. Where do you think this is going to stop? Will the US spend millions and millions of dollars to shoot down a $200 drone or a missile, sir?
We'll respond to the answer is no. I think is U.S. military in a crisis? That's the question that we have posed. The answer is no. I think that there is going to be some kind of what shall I say, a negotiated exit between the two parties, so both parties don't feel that they have won, or both parties feel that they have lost. This is the Houthis and the Iranians and the three H's. The Hamas, the Hezbollahs, and the Houthis. And then you have the allies. There's only two allies which are firing missiles at these Houthi positions. That is Britain and United States. And nothing has had impact. The shipping costs have skyrocketed in basically three corridors: eastern seaboard, western seaboard of United States from Asia, and then also the northern and southern Europe seaports, and then of course intra-Asia, the prices have gone up, which prompted the Chinese to come in and tell the Iranians to get your act together. The reason is the costs have scaled up on an average between 280% to over 600%. Cape of Good Hope is really not a good hope, Sriji, in terms of round the world navigation.
Yes, indeed. So, what is the main reason, sir? Are the Houthis so powerful, or does the US not have enough supplies to blast the Houthis out? Is it, some other murmurs going on that Houthis are getting advanced information of where the US missiles are headed? If so, who is giving it to them? What are your thoughts, sir?
I think all of the above. First and foremost, is the supplies diminished to the extent that, notwithstanding the fact is Eisenhower right now in Red Sea trying to defend or trying to thwart the attacks. The fact is there seems to be limited supply of missiles, which broadly is being now accepted within the U.S. Defense Department. So they're probably using their ammunition very sparingly. You have these ships making navigation, consuming a lot of energy, but the story is that nothing much is coming out of it. So that's number one. Number two, if you carefully read the various sources of information, it seems like the Houthis are moving their mobile launchers as well as other critical equipment. What may be left is what they cannot move, or what has not been moved. So they continue. The allies, US and UK, launch, they take out, they say they have taken out, and then you find almost the next day fresh launches coming out of the Houthi domain. This is not coming from Iran. This is coming from Yemen, and that too in specific areas where Houthis have control. It really is astonishing. That's number two. Number three, how come the Houthis are able to point out where the ships are navigating in Red Sea? To the extent quite a few ships have been targeted, and they almost hit the targets in most instances. So obviously there is some information that is coming from probably various kind of forces, or which are inimical to West. So that's the third point. The fourth is there inside information going from United States? We have at length covered this, in terms of people manning various posts in Department of Defense, national security, and so on and so forth. So we have covered that. So is there information going on? There is plausible evidence, and there's plausible kind of rationale for that theory, Sriji. So that is, I believe, that's the fourth most important issue that United States is facing, the world is facing, which is the reason why these attacks have not been put down almost now close to 2 months, Shriji.
Now, viewers, I don't know how many of you have been following this, but the US Senate was poised to pass a bill which would allow 5,000 illegal immigrants a day and give them work permit visas. However, since the time that Trump won both the primaries, he has put his foot down and said, no deal. And this has got the senators in a big huff and puff. You know that not all Republican Party members toe the line of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is an outsider inside the GOP, whatever ecosystem, if you will. So he's more of a, he was a Democrat to start with. Sridharji, this now, he has really cracked the whip. He says no deal, right? So what do you think is going to happen to the Senate proposal, sir?
Fallen off. It's stalled. So it's not going to move forward, Sriji. And I think which is the reason why, if you go to the previous slide, then you'll see the last bullet point, which says Biden is begging Mexico to help because these illegals are not going to be stopped. So they have to be stalled. And the only country that can support this is Mexico, because most of these caravans pass through Mexico to the border, and then Mexico says, deal with it. They're passing through our country. They haven't done anything illegal. We are Latin America. We are South America. We are allowing these guys as part of the, the broad agreement that we have with the adjacent nations like Ecuador and Guatemala and El Salvador. So I think this is the reason, the last bullet point, because the border agenda has failed. Biden has considered two things. The border incursions has not been successful. Stalling the border incursions has not been successful. He's conceded. Number two, the attacks on Houthis has not been successful, which was contradicted by James Kirby. But Biden himself went on public saying that they have not been successful in installing the Houthis. So these two things tell you something, or many things are not working as far as the current administration is concerned, Sriji.
Thank you, sir. And before we go to the next slide, viewers, I apologize. I actually didn't realize that I was speaking muted when I was suggesting how to auto subscribe. Go to pgurus.com, pgurus.com. And if you scroll down, you will see the auto subscribe option. You can choose either one language or all languages. And then all you need to do, here we go, I'll show you that. All you need to do is click on this YouTube button, and then you're set. In one click, you would be able to subscribe to all our channels. I apologize. I didn't realize I was muted when I was explaining all this, and we were waiting for Sridharji to rejoin. But anyway, it's all done now. No harm, no foul. So just help us with this, because you're at 475,000, tantalizingly close to 500,000 mark. And we would like to cross that and march towards 1 million. Because again, we'll be 3-4 days ahead of the news cycle on MSM. We guarantee you that. Absolutely 100% guarantee, because we've been proven, especially DGI is 2-3 days ahead all the time. Others are picking up from where we leave. But you get to know what is happening first here. Thank you so much, sir. Let's continue now again and go back to this. How prepared is the United States? Yeah, go ahead, sir.
No, the United States is not well prepared for many reasons. First and foremost, I think that one of the major efforts that is going on is to retooling and rebuilding and doing maintenance work on their ships. It takes a long time for these ships to come to United States and get back. So they are now trying to use the shipping yards in Japan to augment. That's number one. Number two, we have covered extensively that the strategic energy reserves is at an all-time low. It's around 34%. So for planes to fly and for the aircrafts, in aircrafts and the aircraft carriers to be fuel to do major kind of air attacks, you need fuel. So there is a significant depletion of the oil or the gas, or what we call as the fuel. That's the second. Third, that we have reached a stage where United States defense is asking more funding so that it can replenish its inventory. It is short of inventory even to send ammunition to Ukraine. It needs money. It has run out of money. This is another discussion that is taking place within the Senate to approve the budget. The House has effectively said there is no budget approval for the Defense Department unless the border issue is simultaneously addressed first before we give you more money to buy, not only to augment, but also to send more equipment to Ukraine, Sriji. So you have maintenance issues, you have missile issues, you have energy depletion, and then you have a long lead time in getting supplies done. So this is the state of affairs. What Biden administration has done, or the present administration has done in the last 3.5 years. I don't know where we are going to cover, but at some stage we'll be covering. There's an important hearing that took place for the Undersecretary for the U.S. Air Force. When we get to that, we'll cover
Here we go, sir.
there you
Please go ahead, sir.
The Undersecretary nominee for Air Force, Melissa Dalton, was grilled. She effectively confessed the steel that usually gets funded by Department of Defense for the construction of the wall was sold at 97% discount. I repeat, 97% discount. So where did this money go? Nobody knows. She said she objected to it, but it was not heeded, and they used the discretion to bypass the Congress so that they can sell it. And why? So you sell it. Somebody is a big beneficiary when you buy at 3% of the cost, and then this is the U.S. Department of Defense. So what's happened to all the costs? So this is just one instance. Basically, in the hearing, the Biden nominee for Undersecretary, making this statement. So this is the unfortunate state of affairs as far as where we are within the current administration. In the meanwhile, you have a lot of strategic discussions going on outside in terms of ceasefire. So in other words, the United States is not prepared to bring anybody in an assertive manner to negotiating table.
Unfortunately, I think we have lost Sridharji again. He will rejoin us. I just wanted to touch one thing about what is happening on the wall that was built by the Texas State Guard to prevent illegals from coming in at a place called Eagle Pass. For those of you who don't know about this, there's an interesting thing here. Most of the border between United States and Mexico is along the river, the Grand River, Rio Grande. Actually, it's not grand. It's actually very, very shallow, as a matter of fact. You can wade across the river in some points. Some places it's got sharp currents. But be that as it may, in the middle of this Rio Grande, there is a small island, and that belongs to the United States. So if the illegals from Mexico side come and park themselves in this illegal island, in this island which belongs to US, then the US has to let them in. This is the rules. So what is happening is that what used to be happening was that the federal agents would cut the barbed wire fence and allow anyone who got into this island to come into the US and then, process for illegal entry and so on and so forth. Now what has happened is the Texas sent their state force to seal this place, not allow anyone to come in. Then the Border Protection Force, Biden administration, went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has ruled that you have to allow these people in. Sir, I'm finishing up one thing, sir. This is about the border. Now, after that, the state patrols of Texas are digging in, saying, to heck with the Supreme Court order, we are not letting anybody in. They are up to here. Also, I've seen some videos where now people are coming in. Remember how they overran a Greek island in Mediterranean about a couple of months ago? Same thing happening in a place called La Jolla, LAJOLLA, in San Diego, California. La Jolla is a very upscale place, hardly 25 miles from the border. and now we are seeing people just using rafts to come in. So this has become completely unmanageable. I am afraid people are going to be shot down, and that's the next phase, in my opinion. Will that stop this illegal migration? I don't know. But clearly, Mexico has a role to play. Maybe they need to go back all the way to Xander's Gap, Sridharji, where there is supposed to be the very narrow passage. That's where you need to stop them rather than stop them in Mexico. These guys have no brains, idiots. That's all I can say.
Requires very strong leadership and enforcement, Sriji. There's no leadership, there's no enforcement, there's no law, there's no order.
Okay, so let's go to what is going to happen to Melissa Dalton, sir. I mean, is she going to resign or something, or is it just going to be another one where people will just brush it off? Okay, somebody ate some money and just move on.
No, she's not going to. She's not going to be the nominee. They're not going to accept, especially after having made the confession or made the statement. So I think that Mr. Biden has to rework.
Well, viewers, you utter the magic word and disruption start happening. I'm not going to tell you what is the magic word. Let us give them some denial here. Sir, Jan 6 committee chairman says that the information was withheld from Republicans due to motional security. What is the meaning of this motional security? Sir, how does the entire Democratic Party invent words like insurrection, motional security, notional security? What the heck is going on, sir?
Yeah, I think they meant national security, Sriji. So I think that they said that Republicans and revealing information will be a national security issue rather than motional security. So I think that this is the challenge this is the answer that Mr. Benny Thompson has come up with. We didn't share information. We deleted the information. We have no obligation to give you the information. So we because this is going to blow up on their face. So they're coming up with these types of statements. It just is beyond comprehension. And once they decode these 400 or 117 files, they're going to find evidence which is effectively to say, one, they were undercover agents. Two, there was nothing going on until something was triggered, Sriji.
Well. So a lot of interesting things happening there. And now, as the US ships are sailing into Taiwan Strait, China issues a stark warning. A bipartisan congressional team concludes Taiwan visit endorsing support for the government. This is the new government, isn't it, Sridharji?
This is the new government. So let's look at and then you want to finish the second one as well, Sriji?
Yeah. So there's a meeting going on between the National Security Advisor of the United States, Jake Sullivan, and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. This guy is playing a lot of hats here. So, sir, China is the one who is giving all these things to Iran or to North Korea. So instead of addressing the 800-pound elephant in the room, US is just going around seeking smaller people. I mean, this is stupidity on part of it. Sir, personally, I'm at a loss for words as to looking at the ineptness of this administration. I'm an independent, by the way. If I'm a Republican, you can see what kind of choice of words I would use. Anyway, so sir, I'll leave it to you, sir. Go ahead.
So let's just look at these 2 bullet points and weave 4 stories. Okay, 4 stories. First story, Biden congratulates the Taiwanese incoming post-elections. Next day, he wakes up and says, we do not support an independent Taiwan. Okay, this is Biden. Now, the second story. They send the ships through the strait, Taiwan Strait. Simultaneously, you have a Republican and you have a Democrat plus a bunch of House representatives visiting the Taiwan Strait, going and meeting the Taiwanese current elected administration, offering them unilateral support, preservation of peace and prosperity in the Taiwanese region. Act number 2. Now you come to act number 3. Now you come to act number 4. While this meeting is getting concluded, National Security Advisor flies to Bangkok and wants to have a conversation with Dr. Wang Yi to reset and have a much more collaborative and cohesive talks. Try to figure this out. Biden, ships navigating Taiwan Strait with probably no ammunition. And then you have the House Republicans, bipartisan House visiting. We already covered the House passing two laws as far as Taiwan is concerned, and then you have the National Security Advisor meeting Dr. Wang Yi to kind of, bolster and say we are mates. Try to kind of, unravel this. This is United States and Biden's policy.
Well, viewers, you don't have to go very far to understand some of the undercurrents. Jake Sullivan belongs to Macro Advisory Partners, and I've told you who runs Macro Advisory Partners. Go back and look at Macro Advisory Partners. Just search for that in YouTube. You'll see a lot of videos where I've established the exact relationship between the people who are running Macro Advisory Partners and their minions in the current administration. Victoria Nuland, Bill Burns, as well as Jake Sullivan, all these three, they belong to the same group. The most influential group, in my opinion, is the directing and directing and redirecting US policy. I don't know what the heck Biden wants to do. He still dreams of running for another 4 years. He can't run for 4 days. Forget about 4 years. Anyway, that's my personal opinion. Let's go to Project Palestine, sir. UN Relief Agency fires hundreds of workers in Gaza on Friday who participated or assisted in the October 7 massacre of Israel. It took them this long to figure this out?
Took them this long because, I think as the Israeli IDF goes deeper and deeper, more evidence is coming out, and it's fairly clear that the evidence that was presented to the this is United Nations Relief and Worker Agency. UN has to have no moral authority in terms of saying that it is an objective and unbiased institution. No, it is very biased. It is controlled and manipulated. ICJ also belongs to that. Possibly this evidence was presented by the Israelis. You want to talk about genocide? You remember who are the people who facilitated the October 7th United Nations Relief Agency in Gaza? Okay, this is now a very big news flash item that these guys who were independent contractors or others who colluded with Hamas in the October 7 attacks.
This is a major win for Israel, because I was actually bracing for a loss at ICJ. Guys, look at this. Every institution that can be penetrated has been penetrated by who. I'm not going to mention that name because I don't want another disruption to this program. Okay, to undo this, you need somebody who is going to have, testicular gravitas. That's all I can tell you. You can figure out what I meant by that. And that's what is the need of the hour right now. Anyway, we'll see what happens in November. Project Palestine, why is the CIA director participating in Gaza hostage discussion meetings? Macro Advisory Partners. Sir, your take.
You have the answer, Sriji. You have the answer. And I know Mr. William Burns very well. He used to be the president for Carnegie Endowment for International Peace based in Washington, D.C. But I am amazed as to why CIA is participating in Gaza negotiations between Hamas and always Qatar is involved. If Qatar is not involved, there's Qatar, and there is also Iran being invited. So Iran, the Prime Minister of Iran is actually flying to Turkey, so to participate from there in this ceasefire and hostage negotiations. Now, Mr. Biden says hostage release and ceasefire is an absolute imperative for any further kind of action and ceasefire. How come all these things revolve around people who are actually the perpetrators? You read between the lines. What credibility does Qatar have to stop? Because the Hamas is freewheeling within Qatar. What credibility does CIA have when it has limited access or it has unlimited access? We don't know. What credibility does Iran have to be sitting at the negotiating table for ceasefire when its proxies and the Revolutionary Guard is front and center of the action in the 3 H's? So if one is not perplexed or one is perplexed, then there has to be justifiable reasons as to the reasons for the calamity that the world is in, Sriji.
Sridharji, I see again and again the same group that's handiwork of all these things. I mean, this is a handiwork of the same group, and I mean, nobody wants to talk about macro advisory partners. Come on now, it is so blatant. One side, one of those guys is talking with the Chinese foreign minister. Another side, one of their guys is talking to this Gaza hostage determination crisis. That's not CIA's job. In fact, CIA's director should be like, his left hand should not know what his right hand is doing. Why is Bill Burns taking such an active interest? I wonder. So, whatever it is, this has become a joke now. What the US administration is doing and who is running this thing is becoming a huge joke. I don't know when the Republicans will start highlighting this. You can just 1, 2, 3, it's every day happening. Why can't you highlight what they are doing? Who is running this administration? I still haven't seen Trump take that question on, sir. Sridharji, let's go on to the next line. This is, I'll leave it to you, sir. I'm talking too much today.
No, I think you're making right interjections. Well, look, I think we have covered the Houthi attacks. We have covered that the US and UK forces have not been able to mitigate or thwart every day as they try to defend and launch strikes into the so-called launchers within the Houthi area. There's more launches coming out. So we don't know what they're targeting and what has been taken out because complete blackout of information or no information is available. Now we hear that the Australian and New Zealand navies are going to augment and join and supplement the fleets of US and UK. We don't know. They said that there are more than 9 countries participated in the Houthi raids. My understanding was Australia and New Zealand was integral, but now they're sending some of their navies to bolster the Western allies. Then, in the meanwhile, the Israeli minister says that, including IDF, has made it very clear that all targets are targets, and there is no exception, including inside Iran. So it's very clear Israel is taking its own stand and making the appropriate decisions and actions that defends Israel, recognizing it has no one else to support, Sriji.
Sir, one question that I have to ask of Israel, guys, these things were being spread out over a period of time, whether it's one age or the other. What was your intelligence doing? These are missiles. Were they coming in through some other country's vessels? I mean, that is the other question, that a certain country which is known for exports was actually sending all these things through also. You have to work backwards and find out when these things started, because now even if you go and attack the source in Iran, the bird has already flown the coop. They are already distributed across these countries now, isn't it, sir?
It is, Sriji. What has happened, this is based on, inferences. The Naftali Bennett government was prepped up by, the left, Labour, which is sympathetic. And I believe during that period, a lot of information was not flowing through or not acted upon. Then there was a change of government with Netanyahu stepping in. As soon as he stepped in, within a reasonable time, by the time he could assemble, by the time he could get his stuff, you find that October 7th happens and the attack is launched. And Israel looks very silly that the question that you have raised, which is namely, how big is the intelligence failure, or how much of the intelligence reached the appropriate authorities within Israel? These are the two big questions, Riji.
Now let's move on to India. India had a very successful Republic Day celebration. France, interestingly, sir, I think I read at least 3 French nationals getting Padma Shri this year, sir. I find it very, very interesting.
At least I know one person, which is the yoga person receiving it. I don't know the other 2, but overall, I think that it's very important. France, amongst all nations, France. The reason is Macron is contesting the elections, and India needs Macron in Europe more than Macron needs Macron is needed in France, because India needs a very strong anchor ally. As far as Rishi Sunak is concerned in UK, he looks on shaky grounds. The German Chancellor is not favorably disposed. So you have a very left, and I think India chose diplomatically the coup in terms of bringing Macron. France and India have had very, very strong relationships, and France has also emerged as one of the top 4 defense partners. So it's a lot of kind of strategic thematics behind this French invitation and French participation and the work that is going on between India and France, Riji.
India is going to ship BrahMos ground missile systems to Philippines by March. This is on a big order, isn't it, sir?
It is a big order. These are the mobile, these are the ground-based, land-based BrahMos missiles. I think that which gives them the ability to manage remote, replenish, and also they are mobile launchers, so they can be seamlessly moved around. And they are accelerating the supply to March this year, which means that Philippines has a very strong feeling that it needs a deterrence mechanism, because it has got its own challenges dealing with the Chinese in the Scarsbury Shoals.
Russian president, you see this thing, whether it is the president or the prime minister or the foreign minister, every so often they periodically come in with a statement saying, we praise PM Modi for pursuing an independent foreign policy. One wonders what the intent is behind this statement, sir.
Well, I think it's basically continue the status quo. Be supportive to us in the United Nations. We are with you, and we are supporting you in your endeavors. And we stand by you. So I think India needs Russia. Russia needs India. And probably the world needs Russian oil and Indian refining. India needs France. France needs India. So I think that nobody in this power struggle that is going on. India seems to be the nation which is the arbitrator to make sure that the US and its allies don't, prop up unilaterally or don't compromise the world. Obviously, everybody is trying to or worried about the Chinese to counter the Chinese threats. So this is a kind of, who is the best arbitrator, who is not, who has world credibility? That's India, Sriji. So you will find many of these people making such statements. Whether they act on it or not is a different question.
Sir, we have a couple of questions, sir. If you, with your permission, I'll just ask them. Ramachandra Raghunatha Rao, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. And Partha has a question. Is a base realignment and closure commission needed to shut down a base, or can it be done by an executive order?
It can be done by an executive order, as it happened in the case of Bagram Air Base.
Well, I think that brings us to a close of today's session. Very fruitful, very informative, sir. And thank you so much for putting the effort to bring all these things and to share with our viewers. Viewers, we are an analysis website, analysis channel. We are not giving you news. All this has already happened, some a few days ago, some probably even longer than that. But look at the MSM. Nobody's touching upon the things that we have touched upon. Of course, now everybody who's watching us will start coming up with their own stories. More power to them. But the truth remains, we are the tip of the spear. We'll be seeing you again tomorrow, a special episode with Sridharji. Thank you, Sridharji, and we'll see you tomorrow again, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend.